It is the voice of Indiana County. It's WCCS 101.1 FM and AM 1160. And he is Philip Martell, superintendent of the River Valley School District. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I am great.
That's terrific to hear. Conversation brought to you by Marcus & Mack, a law firm representing injured people. Got to admit to you that I had another superintendent on with me earlier this morning, Darren Johnston, and we might cover some of the same ground because the topic is interesting. We get to the end of the school year. I know as Mr. Johnston at Penn's Manor was, you probably were as well, breathing a big sigh of relief. You got through another year, and in this particular year, it was really big for River Valley because it was a brand new school district, and so to get through and have your first graduating class had to be pretty big for you.
It was really special, and it was just amazing. And once again, to see the students together, and especially then they highlighted that in their speeches too, Todd, which was really just amazing. Really kind of just summed everything up for especially for all the doubters as well. Because it came directly from the source, our children. And it was a great year. It was the first full year back, so still full of a lot of challenges, not only just because of the reconfiguration, but just with the whole pandemic that all of our districts are facing in our nation.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was quite the accomplishment to get through the school year. Still a lot of work to do with River Valley. You've got some things with the campus and with the sports complex you'd like to get done and get done soon. You've got work down in Salzburg as well. You've still got a busy time ahead of you before you start another school year, don't you?
No question about it. And it really, everybody that just always makes me think summers, you put it like this it eases because the students are here, but we really continue because of what you just described. In the middle of a building project, getting the STEAM Academy up and running, for the start of the fall, getting those spaces configured. That you're right. It's absolutely still just as very busy.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's touch on a couple of the subjects. The STEAM Academy, in particular. How is it coming? Will you be on target to start up in the fall?
We will be. We have our programs. We're going to start with cybersecurity and esports. We'll have a fully functioning esports and cybersecurity lab on the Salzburg campus, electrical occupations, sports medicine, physical therapy. So those four will be up and running come fall. We have students enrolled. They'll be going down there in the mornings and coming back here in the afternoon. So we're moving forward.
Yeah. Okay. So that is going along well. The sports complex itself, I mean, that is a very ambitious project, and sometimes you're held hostage a little bit by supply issues, especially at this day and age. And these companies that are doing these things, they're specialists, but they've got their own challenges getting materials.
They do, and that's all the supply chain issues. The fuel issues are going to have a factor. But we're trying to move forward, and we're looking to try to minimize those impacts by purchasing as much like on state contract that we can, because those prices are fixed. We just got to make sure, obviously, like the contractor can get the product, but prices are up everywhere. I mean, to the point where some of the prices have doubled. So those are things we have to weigh and evaluate each day and figure out, because we borrowed X amount of money based on what those projections were. Well, this was before this, before the Russian attack in Ukraine and the fuel prices were really going through the roof. So it'll be a day by day approach. I'll tell you that.
Has it had a tangible effect on things that you've been able to do? Have you had to scale anything back?
Not as of now. I will tell you we're very fortunate on a number of different fronts. I do anticipate, though, we'll have a tremendous impact in the future because, one example right now is we don't have a fuel escalation clause in our transportation contract. Mm-hmm. And I'd have to think that if any transportation contractor is not going to want to have to live with this type, obviously, happening again. So that, that can have an impact on us in the near future. Because I can see that coming into play somewhere along the line. And, and what do we do, though, Todd? Like, somebody said to me, what are you going to do when you have to go online again last week? And I said, our numbers aren't even there. He goes, the person said to me, no, what happens when gas is $10 a gallon? Are you going to, how do people come to work? And I'm like, I really don't know.
That's something that I hadn't thought of.
Yeah, it was really crazy.
That's something that you probably didn't want to think about. And
no,
yeah.
I'm thinking, wait, our numbers are down, and no, I never thought of it. So it's just that's the things we can't control.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And you're right about those fuel suppliers. And, it's going to be much more difficult in the future to get one of those types of contracts where the price is locked in because they don't know what their costs are going to be. They're going to be probably a little bit more reluctant to give out those types of deals.
No question about it.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. I wanted to talk to you about something with which I talked with Mr. Johnston last hour, and that is school security. I know the superintendents met at Aaron yesterday, and a large part of the discussion had to do with school security. The shootings in Texas, of course, and the other shootings happening around the country, they're not just school, but we focus upon schools when we talk to our school superintendents and school security. Are you comfortable that River Valley is where it needs to be, or must more be done to ensure student safety there?
Well, honestly, I don't think any district can sit here and tell you today that they're comfortable because it's just the intangibles. That's just the physical layout of these facilities when they were conceived. They were not made for these types of issues. So bringing them up to par is just going to, in the evolution of technology, even. We're at a point, we're probably 3/4 of the way where we want to be, almost pretty much probably further than that. But by the end of the summer, we will have all of our security measures in place. But just like even the layout with the cameras and different things, as you've walked enough of these older buildings. Yeah. They're not made for that. They weren't made for that. The ebb and flow of that building, and it's the challenge we all will face. But then it also comes on the other side of it is funding. I mean, it's just funding, and it's not only just for equipment, but, we're looking to even hire more security officers, but that's a challenge, from an employment perspective, like a lot of other things in our country. So it's going to constantly evolve. And a lot of people forget we were on, security was the main issue before COVID. Mm-hmm. And then once we come into COVID, it just hit that wall. But it was never out of sight in my mind.
Yeah. One of the interesting things to me about it, and you don't know what the ultimate outcome of the investigation will be in Texas, was the idea that here's a system that we have in place and a door that should be locked wasn't locked. And I don't know if the ultimate determination is to whether or not that was actually the case, but that was one of the ideas that was out there. It really does take more than just a plan. It takes people who are willing and are really dedicated to the plan in order to make that plan work, doesn't it?
It does. I mean, and you had such a travesty like this that happened. And I guess what the saddest part in my mind was, it's a blame game. Let's not make it about a blame game. Fix the solution. To blame the police was absolutely ridiculous in my mind. They put their lives on the line every day. To blame, to your point, there's just so many intangibles that can happen that are, out of equipment's purpose, out of security reach, out of the security officer's purpose. But you have just trying to enforce that plan, with your staff and to do those things. That's what we have to do. We have to educate people as much as we can. And it's just unfortunate these types of tragedies continue to happen.
Yeah, and I wonder about extracurriculars. When you have a football stadium that has 3,000 people in it, and you've got a security force of 10 or 11 people, those things can get out of control, and they can get out of control very, very quickly. And so extra measures must be taken there as well, whether it's adding more personnel or finding ways to control crowds in different manners. I know that has to concern somebody like you.
It does, because it's putting those types of measures in place. But that's why I see the argument now, even in Harrisburg, is they have all this stimulus money. How about pumping some of that money out to the schools to do some of these things that they need to do? Some of these smaller schools or schools, it's a challenge. You get a $25,000 security grant. That doesn't even get you anywhere, and it's a one-time cost. But the other part of this equation we need to quit hiding from is the fact that mental illness is a tremendous challenge in our nation, and it must be addressed immediately.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and we see the demonstration of that every single day. And I know that Senator White, when Don White was the senator, he was very concerned about the response time. When can police get there when there is an emergency? So all of these things are considerations. And as I said yesterday, the superintendent's meeting at Aaron, and I know those ideas were bandied about, trying to find out, okay, what are you doing? What are we doing? How can we sort of find ways that we can bandy these ideas about and maybe come up with stronger security? So security will always be an issue for folks like you who are so concerned with keeping the kids safe. And the students. Meanwhile, you want to think more about education. And as I said to Superintendent Johnston, there are so many wonderful things that you learn when you see the way schools are doing innovative ways of educating children, that I know that must excite you.
It does, and we're really trying to make a shift here because I just believe one of the areas of the public education has failed is the fact that they're not preparing students early enough in their career to look at different career paths, and we've made a full tilt switch to do that. We're going to have our students are going to start to understand and look at career paths as early as elementary school. Not waiting to 8th and 9th grade. Let them have the opportunity to try different things. Let them have the opportunity to fail at different things. But to get started earlier, and we're restructuring our curriculum and our programming to do that as well. So we're really excited about that.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, you got some budget works to do, and I know that you've got a lot to do over the course of this summer. Wish you the best. Thank you for joining us this morning.
No problem. You take care of yourself, okay?
You too. You too. Have a great summer. It is the voice of Indiana County. It's WCCS 101.1 FM and AM 1160. AM 1160.